Just take it in a second. Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here on this exciting day as we celebrate the future of our franchise and we name Kyle Davidson the 10th general manager for the Chicago Blackhawks. All right. I want to, of course, welcome our chairman, Rocky Wirtz, our president of business operations, Jamie Faulkner, our great staff who are here both in person as well as joining us virtually from all around the States, Canada, and around the world. I also want to thank all those involved with this process, especially our fans, for the patience while we made this decision. I want to thank the candidates who were part of this process for their openness. It's a sign that sports is evolving and hockey is changing. And lastly, I want to thank our advisory committee, including Marian Hossa, Eddie Olczyk, Patrick Sharp, as well as our friends from Sportsology for their thoughtful discussion and candor to get us to this day. Long term, the Chicago Blackhawks want to build and sustain an elite system of hockey. We want to return to winning, and we want to be playing playoff hockey here in Chicago. We're not where we want to be, we're not where we expect to be, and we know we need to do things differently. And we learned a lot about that throughout this process. To get there, we have to have a best-in-class hockey operations department. The very best minds, the best technology, the best information to make the best decisions possible for our hockey club. We also know this is more than just one individual. This is the first decision in putting the right leader at the helm, who will bring in smart people around the table and building the very best processes to help them succeed and ultimately win along the way. We want our general manager, Kyle, and his team to think differently about finding solutions that make the Blackhawks the very best version of ourselves holistically across the system. How do we find and evaluate the very best talent and select them at the NHL entry draft? How do we continuously develop athletes in our system, with development starting when they become a Blackhawk, but not stopping when they become an NHL rostered player? How do we construct the very best roster to help us win? And how do we create an environment both on and off the ice that is led by character first? We went into this process with a very open mind about who our GM could be. We owed it to ourselves and to you to be as thorough as possible. So let me tell you a little bit about what we were looking for in our next GM. We were looking for a leader with a strategic mindset who could help build a plan and be patient enough to stick with that plan. A leader who has a growth mindset, who's willing to think about things differently. A collaborative decision maker who can transform the way we make choices and utilizing analytics and innovation in the sports to make the best decisions for the club. Somebody who is an effective communicator, who is honest about who we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. And finally, we are in the business of hockey, and we need someone who is passionate about our game and passionate about the Blackhawks. Throughout this process, we told you we were looking for both traditional and non-traditional candidates from inside and outside of hockey. And there were a number of incredibly strong candidates who made this a very tough decision. But what we learned is that out of the box did not have to be synonymous with outside these walls. And time of service in the NHL is not the only qualification to be a general manager in this league. And Kyle has everything we are looking for. And he has demonstrated that every day over the last 4 months with the changes he has initiated and the decisions he's made. In Kyle's 12 years here, he's worked across all functional departments in hockey operations. He's scouted, he's been at the draft table. He's become an expert on the inner workings and nuances of the salary cap and the collective bargaining agreement. He's paved the way for the creation of the new hockey strategy and analytics department. And in that department, he's built a team around him with diverse perspectives and views on our global game. Maybe most importantly, and in the end, Kyle represents high character and high values. I have seen Kyle step up as a visible and vocal leader, both on and off the ice, at some of our organization's toughest moments. He is already well respected within this organization and is seen as a true partner to both the hockey and the business side. Throughout the process, it became clear, without a doubt, to myself, Jamie, Rocky, Shara, and the many others who were involved with this process that Kyle was the answer. He is one more puzzle on this new leadership team who will help us reach this goal of being a leader in sports across the globe. And we are excited to work with him in this important role for our organization. So with that, I'm extremely proud to officially announce and introduce the 10th General Manager of the Chicago Blackhawks, Kyle Davidson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here. First of all, I know a lot of you came down from the office, and I appreciate the support. I walked around earlier today, and it was amazing to see some of you. A lot of you, for the most part, I've met within the last year or so. There's so many new staff members here, but some of you I've shared this journey with for over a decade, and so it's really special to have you all here and share this really exciting day with you all. So thanks for coming down. And for anyone that's sent a text message, a call, I apologize for not responding. It's been quite overwhelming. I promise to get back to you as quickly as I can, but I really feel the support, and I appreciate all the kind words that everyone's put my way. First, today, I'd like to start by thanking my family who's here today on this really special day for me. Hockey's been my entire life, and not only have you introduced me to it, but you've been supportive in allowing me to pursue my dreams within that hockey world. And even if that meant, after you paid for 4 years of college, my first action was to take an unpaid internship with the Rockford Ice Hogs. So I appreciate all of your support along the way. To my wife, Angelica, I can't imagine a better partner or supporter than you. You're the most selfless person I've ever met, and you've always wanted what's best for me. I wouldn't be able to embark on this journey without you by my side. Thanks to my friends here in Chicago, many of which are here today, as well as all my friends watching back in Sudbury, Ontario. Another special shout out I want to make to Brian Campbell, who's here today. On the day I was named interim GM, he was one of the first calls I made. I asked if he could be at morning skate the next day for a game that night against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that was October 27th, and he hasn't left. Still right here. I don't know if it's the free chocolate bars in the charter, but he's sticking around, and I couldn't ask for a more loyal friend and confidant over the last few months, so really appreciate it, Supi. Two other people that I want to just make note of, they aren't here today. Unfortunately, they've lost battles with cancer over the last number of years. One is my aunt, Mara Volpini, and also friend Tom Curvers. They'd have been amongst the first calls and texts I would have received or made after this conference today, and because they'd be so excited for me. And they both came into my life at different times, but both impressed upon me similar sentiments of being a good person, doing the right thing, and everything else will take care of itself after that. To the Wirtz family, Danny and Rocky specifically, thank you so much for this opportunity. Being a part of the Blackhawks family has taught me so much over the last 12 years, and I'm so excited to take this next step with you all. I appreciate the trust that's been given to me in this role, and look forward to working with both you and Jamie on the future of the Chicago Blackhawks. Danny, you've asked many of us in the organization to reimagine the potential of hockey, and looking ahead, this is such an exciting time for our franchise. I'm honored to carry out that vision. I told you from the beginning that I wanted this job. I was very clear about that. It was a long process, and at times I wasn't sure if I was going to get the job, but I was very proud to be measured and held up against what I believe is a very strong pool of candidates that you brought in. I learned a lot about myself throughout this process, and I sit here today even more confident in my ability to carry out this role. Now I'd like to take a quick step back if I could, just because a lot of the people up on the stage, and particularly in the front row, and I guess even in the back too, they know me pretty well, but there's a lot of people watching today that don't know me well. So just a few notes about me. I'm someone that doesn't take any day for granted. I've committed myself to be better every single day, and appreciate every opportunity that comes my way. I know it's a little cliche, but it's true. And a lot of that has to do with, one, my upbringing, thanks to my family, and also the fact that I was born into a fairly unique circumstance. I was born with a congenital heart defect. I've undergone 3 open heart surgeries in my life, the latest of which was back in 2019. And the person that took care of me during that time was my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. And thanks to her, I have family roots here in Chicago now. It's allowed me to have a really special community connection to this city. And this is home for me. Chicago's home, and we look forward to starting a family of our own and being here for many years to come. Now, as we get into the hockey aspect of this, I want to acknowledge where the team is today. It's clear that we need to be better. The standings tell us that every single day. We're a long way from where we want to be and where we need to be as a team, and we intend to rebuild this both on and off the ice. No matter if it takes 3 years, 5 years to get to the level of success that we're looking to achieve, when we get there, it's our mission to stay there. We need to be both honest with ourselves and the fan base, and it's extremely important that once we lay out a plan, we stick to it and we don't deviate. Everything has been under review since my time here when I started as interim general manager, and we'll continue to review how we operate in order to improve how we function off the ice as well. In the front office, we will never stop trying to improve, to innovate, and I promise that stagnation will never be accepted while I'm the general manager here. In the near term, I need to build the team with me to assist in executing all of these crucial decisions that are to come in the near future. Additionally, we plan on achieving success the right way. I share the vision of this leadership team to create a positive culture throughout the organization as well as the game of hockey. I promise to ensure respect, dignity, and professionalism are reflected in everything we do. Winning is hard. 31 teams are trying to do exactly what we're trying to do. We will get back to playoff hockey. We will have success, and the work starts today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We'll now lead into some questions. If you have a question, please find myself or Will, and we can find you and go from there.
Thank you. Hi, Kyle. Tracy Myers, NHL.com. Like you were talking about, it's been a long wait, but at the same time, how, I don't know if difficult's the right word, but how much were you doing the work this entire time? And, how is it now just, okay, let's just pick up where I've left off?
Right, yeah. The whole time I was under the interim tag, I'd never treated it as such. I always tried to operate as if I was going to get the full-time job, and I think that is going to serve not only myself but the hockey operations department well moving forward. We'll be able to hit the ground running, and I'm not worried about any stumbling blocks because we've been ready for this day, and I'm glad it's here and ready to get going.
Ben Pope from the Sun-Times. For Danny, just wondering what you can tell us about what this process the past month was like. And obviously there are some people who are going to say you need a new perspective. What would you say to them as far as why Kyle brings that, even though he's been with the team for 12 years now?
Absolutely. Well, the process was thorough. It was deep with each of the candidates. As I said before, we went through multiple dimensions of the things we were looking for. But Kyle continued to not only answer those questions, but really answer the call based on his work in the last 4 months. And I think if you know Kyle, and as all of you are going to get to know Kyle, you'll realize that he's his own person. He has his own philosophies. He's not married or tied to anything from the past or any preconceived notions coming into the job, which actually is quite an advantage to be both a fresh thinker and an open-minded thinker, but also understand our starting point very expertly. So you kind of get the best of both worlds in that sense. His starting point will be well-versed, and I think he can hit the ground running, but again, with that open-minded and real open to new possibilities. So I think that's what the fans are going to start to know quickly, that Kyle is a fresh face, even though he's been around for a little while.
Mark Lazarus, The Athletic. Kyle, building off of Tracy's question, what's different today as opposed to yesterday? What can you do now that you couldn't do yesterday? Is it a matter of hiring, reconstructing the way that the hockey ops department looks like? Like, what powers do you have now that you might not have had as an interim?
Yeah, there's not too much that's different, but I think the thing that will change is the team I build around me. I'm looking to build a diverse and expert team around me to really round out the expertise that we have in the hockey operations department currently, and just the general processes and philosophies that we're going to continue to change and improve over time. It's an ongoing process. It's something that we can kickstart now, maybe change some things that I didn't necessarily want to enact right away as interim, just out of respect for the potential new hire that would come in if it was not me. So there are some things that I've tweaked in the past, and then there's going to be some more foundational approaches that I fix moving forward.
Hi, it's Phil Thompson, Chicago Tribune. This question is for Kyle. Just wanted to get a sense of your overall philosophy looking at the roster. If, to put it plainly, if you're looking at kind of a from the ground up rebuild or more of a retool?
Yeah, no, we're going to look at more of a rebuild here. I think there's some things that we really need to fix that are going to take time. It's going to take time, and we're not going to put a timeline on it, whether it's 3, 5. I don't have that answer right now. That will be determined as we proceed. But we really need to do this the right way, and we're gonna stick to the plan and take our time with it and make sure that when we get to where we want to go, then it was the result of a plan that was stuck to and not deviated from.
Scott Powers, The Athletic. Kyle, there's a lot been talk about just hockey culture and obviously everything with the organization. What do you see your role in improving that and maybe changing what hockey culture has been?
Yeah, I see myself as a prominent leader in that. I join Jamie, Danny, and Rocky in sharing the same philosophies and enacting some of the positive changes that have occurred here in the last year or so. I think we've taken some really good steps, but it's a really passionate topic for me and a really emotional topic for me that I believe in very strongly, and I look towards leading from the front on it, not only within our organization, but in the grander hockey community. So whether that's helping out internally or at the grassroots level, I'm all in that endeavor. So.
Frank Zarowski, Tomahawk Roundup. This question's for Kyle. What's your overall vision for the Chicago Blackhawks going into the future? You talked about the very talented candidate pool. What's your overall vision going into the next 3, 5, 10 years for the Blackhawks?
I think right now it's a very general vision of one, building this the right way, and that starts first of all off the ice in terms of the team and the processes that I operate within in the hockey operations department. I think we have to do this the right way, and we need to rebuild our prospect pool. We need to rebuild our roster in general, and that takes time. And it's going to start in the front office with new processes, new philosophies, and new perspectives.
Charlie Romeliotis, NBC Sports Chicago. Congrats, Kyle. Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, their contracts are obviously up at the end of next season. Those are two franchise icons. Are you going to consult with them on what needs to be done moving forward, and are they going to be part of that future?
Yeah, no, Jonathan and Patrick are extremely important pieces to the organization, and they're definitely going to be brought into the loop. I've had a brief conversation with both of them this morning about some of the sentiments of today's announcement and what I would be talking about. That's going to be an ongoing discussion between myself and the players, and I'll tell you for sure that there won't be any surprises on their end in terms of what we plan on doing with the organization.
Hey, Kyle. John Dietz from the Daily Herald. I'm wondering if you could just expound a little bit on the change in general philosophies that you will bring to the team, as well as fixing, you said core foundational things that you'll fix moving forward. Can you just explain?
Yeah, well, I think it just goes into how we're going to operate in the front office and the ways we're going to incorporate new information, new perspectives. You know, it's going to take time, and it's going to take time in terms of reimagining how we, one, evaluate players, how we execute at the entry draft, how we execute our pro scouting, how we build our analytics department, player development. It's going to be a very broad change in philosophy, because I'm a new person that's coming in with some strong beliefs on how we should move forward. But that's going to take time, and I think we'll speak on that more as we get going and as those different philosophies take place. And you know, I think what the fans can be excited about is that this is going to be new. There's going to be a lot of change coming in terms of our philosophies and approaches, and so as we go and as we build those departments over time, we'll talk more about them. But until those changes come concretely, I think we'll leave it more general for now.
Danny, Mark Lazarus again. You mentioned, you kind of alluded to a couple of times where Kyle has kind of stood up and been a voice for positive change in difficult times. I'm sure some of it's behind closed doors stuff, but can you give any examples of that? Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. I just know, you know, since I took the role, I think we've been working on the culture here, you know, and I remember distinctly following the events around George Floyd. You know, we really started to rally around doing good D&I work, and the first email I got was Kyle wanting to be part of that work, part of that change, and that really set the tone for me, and always being able to walk down the office and get his take on where things were at with the culture, specifically on the hockey side. He has a really good read on, you know, we have a majority of our staff out in the markets, you know, how are they resonating with the culture of the Blackhawks, and just, you know, being a thought partner on a lot of the work we've had to do to improve the culture of the Blackhawks. And so I think that's a really important thing, is the work we've been talking about, having the right leaders in place to lead by example, to model the kind of things we want to see in our leadership, I think sets a huge tone. We obviously have that with Jamie on the business side, and now to have a true partner in Kyle, I think is going to be really important for that work going forward.
Hey, Jay Cohen, Associated Press. This is for Kyle. I'm going to be that guy and ask a two-part question, so I apologize in advance. But you know, I know you've talked a lot about change, but I would be interested in hearing from you what you learned working for Stan and how you would describe yourself as different from him and the predecessor. And then also your philosophies. I mean, obviously Derek King is the interim coach. One of your first big decisions will be, you know, that position. So if you could tell us the timeline for that and what your thoughts are when it comes to the coaching in the future.
Sure. I think my time here previously, you know, I was exposed to a lot, and I got to experience many different facets of the hockey operations, almost every single one of them. And so that brings valuable experience, and the access to decision making allows you to take pieces of what you would use, what you might not use, how you put your own spin on it. And you know, just in general, I'm a different person, and with any different person, you're going to get different philosophies and different ways of wanting to do things. As far as the coaching, you know, the next steps with coaching, I think Derek's done a fantastic job. He's really kind of made the locker room a really fun place to be, and lighten the mood, and really made some good changes that we've seen some improvements on the ice. But Derek's going to be part of that process, and he's getting a firsthand practical interview, just like I got in my role, and so that's an advantage. And I think he's doing very well in that position. The one thing I really look for in the next coach, whether it's Derek or someone else, is elite communicator. I think communication is so important now with players, and so I think it's someone that can really relate and communicate with the players and drive home that message from the coach's office to the locker room.
Jackie Kostek, CBS Chicago. This question is for Kyle. I'm just curious if you've had a moment to reflect over the last 4 months.
No.
On how, on just how wild this ascent for you has been. I mean, you think about starting out as an intern 12 years ago, that is a quick and sort of ideal rise to the top.
Yeah, I haven't had much of an opportunity to reflect, to be honest, and we'll see when that moment comes. But yeah, I appreciate the road I've taken. I feel like I've put in a lot of hard work in those 12 years. So, you know, it is a nice thing that I started here as an intern, and I've gotten to experience every level on the way up, and to ascend to this position, I think is, you know, I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that I did it all in with the Chicago Blackhawks, and so it's been a great ride, and I look forward to continuing that in this chair. So thank you.
Joe Brand, WGN Radio, back here. Sorry. This question's for Danny. Given Kyle having full autonomy with the interim general manager role, just curious what you noticed from him during that time. You know, what kind of confidence he had, and how much that played a role in giving him the gig full time.
Absolutely. Well, I recall it was a hard day when we gave him the role, by all means. And right off the bat, he was assuring, confident, and I think since then approached the role like that. Great communicator, very clear, whether it's an assessment of last night's game or a transaction we have to go do. Kyle is very clear about what needs to get done. He solicits great feedback and input from others, and especially when he's managing up to us, presents a very clear path of where we want to go. And I think for our roles, in trying to support someone like Kyle, it makes it very easy. I've told people before, you know, when I leave a meeting with Kyle, I feel better. I feel more assured, I feel more confident, and I think that's a feeling that hopefully everyone here and the fans can start to sense as well, as they really understand Kyle's plan going forward.
Ben Pope again. This is for Rocky. What kind of input did you have in this process, and what have you seen over the past 4 months with Kyle and the just change in this regard?
Well, Ben, they asked me for my 2 cents, and I gave him $1 worth of advice. And but I appreciate the process they went through, and it was laborious, but it was the right process. And as any of you have ever gone through a process of hiring internal candidate, the cards generally are stacked against you. But I was quite proud of how Danny and everyone had gone through the process. So I was 110% supportive of Kyle. And I'm excited about today, and I'm excited about the future of the Blackhawks.
All right, Phil Thompson again. This is for Danny Wirtz. Danny, if you could just shed some light on, among the finalists, what gave Kyle an edge over the other candidates. And if I could add on to that, I know you said this is going to be a long process, but how would you be measuring success, and will you have kind of incremental steps that you'll be looking for within certain time frames?
Sure. So, you know, without going into excruciating detail of the evaluation process, I think it's a combination of so many things. I think, you know, you're looking for all those important competencies in the roles, but then you also have to sort of measure that against the fit in the organization, the timing, and I think, you know, Kyle just continued to sort of hit every mark on those things we were looking for, as well as having built in, you know, trust and confidence that he earned in the interim position, which is an advantage that he had against other candidates. So I think it's a combination of so many different things that really put you in a position to make the final call. That's not without, you know, a lot of consideration, a lot of thoughts, and also a lot of openness about, you know, the things we still have to bring in around Kyle to augment his skill set, because nobody's perfect. And that would be the case with anybody assuming this role. So that was really kind of the thought process in that final selection. And as it relates to timing, you know, I think that's look, from our perspective, we have both patience and time to get this right. I think to Kyle's point, we have to get this right. Oftentimes when teams get a little impatient is when the plan tends to short circuit a bit, and then we lose more time. So we're going to give him the time he needs. I know he's going to manage expectations as that plan becomes more secure. And I think one of the advantages about our family being in this for, you know, 4 generations is we've seen some ups and downs in this franchise. So we do have patience on our side, you know, built in. So, but we're as anxious as anyone to see a winning team, but we just want to do it the right way.
Danny, Scott Powers again. Just can you kind of talk about the feedback of what you got from the advisory committee with Hossa and Sharp and Olczyk, and how were they involved? Did they interview all the candidates, and what was the process, including them?
Sure. I think from the very beginning, we thought of them as really being thought partners in the process. Obviously, having the perspective of former players is really important. It's not the only perspective. And obviously, Eddie Olczyk, who kind of spans both ex-player, broadcaster, friend, and so well networked in the National Hockey League. And I think it was really to get their take. Both, we started more broadly organizationally, things that they see in the organization that we need to be thinking about before the process started. And they really came involved at in the finalists to spend time and interview each of the final candidates and then give us their take. Not just on evaluating them, but actually what did they learn from those interviews? What are some things that, we need to be thinking about as it relates to each of the candidates? And the good news was, as it related to Kyle, so many things were validated, some new things were reinforced, and their confidence was really high on Kyle's ability to do this job very well. So we were very thankful that they were part of the collective group that was in the process.
Kyle, Jay Cohen, AP again. You mentioned your wife, Angelica, and how important she's been to you over the past years. It's tough to be married to someone who's a hockey executive or in sports in general. Like, how much has she helped you in this kind of period over the last couple months where, you're in interim, you're trying to get the full-time job, and that could be kind of a very tense type of thing?
Yeah, no, it was to have someone at home that is that supportive, I think is almost a prerequisite to take something like this on. It's just, I couldn't imagine if it was the alternative. It would just be way too hard. And she's just as much of a part of this success and my success or this role as I will be, because without that support at home, I wouldn't be able to do this. The funny thing is, I'm going to tell the story. She said the other day, I don't know, it was probably a long day or whatever, and I came home and maybe I was a little short or I didn't do something, and she says, "You might be the GM of the Chicago Blackhawks, but I'm the GM of this house." So she's the real boss. Sorry.
We have time for two more, so we'll go over to the other side for Charlie. Thanks.
Meliodas, maybe I should be asking your wife this question if she's the GM, but obviously the trade deadline is approaching in the next couple weeks. What's going to be your approach going into that?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be monitoring the market, what's going on. I have a pretty good feel, but things will change dramatically, I think, in the lead up over the next few weeks, and we'll just evaluate what's available to us. I don't think it's any secret that where we are in the standings, and so if there's an opportunity to acquire some future talent and augment what we've got in our prospect pool or our draft asset pool, then we'll explore that.
Okay, John Dietz again. I'm going to steal Jay's thing and do a two-part question. And it's to Danny or Jamie. I'm just curious, did the advisory committee have any say in the candidates, like who the candidates would be, and if not, why? And I know a lot of fans were curious as to why Eddie wasn't maybe a candidate also for the GM spot.
So, I think, as I said earlier, I think we looked to the advisory committee not to give us say, but to really give us perspective. And I think be a contributor to our evaluation process. And so that's really the remit of their job as an advisor. And by all means, I think, we knew when they were telling us about their interviews, especially with Kyle, that there was a lot of support there, right? So I think that's really where we focused their support. And I think I forgot the second part of your question.
And I just said a lot of fans.
Eddie.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Eddie.
Yes. Look, Eddie's a big part of our family. He's a contributor to the Blackhawks in so many ways, and for the specific role we were looking for and the specific qualifications, it was important that we wanted Eddie in the tent. As we made the decision to ultimately hire Kyle, so we thought that was the best place to engage our friend Eddie.
I just wanted to get Jamie's thoughts real quick. Front row, sorry, Mark Lazarus. Obviously, business and hockey ops are separate departments, but business success goes hand in hand with hockey success. What were you looking for in this process? What were your priorities?
Yeah, well, the success we have is going to be dependent on the success that Kyle has, right? And so it was really important we got this right. It's interesting because when I started this role, I got to know Kyle pretty well. We would come to these games, we'd be in the suite with no fans, and we just started talking a ton about what's happening in the world of sports, why do we do the things that we do here, who does it the best in the NHL. We're both so similar, and we're so curious, we're great learners, we ask a lot of good questions, we want to put the right people around us. So we sort of already had sort of a great connection and synergy. We were asking Kyle to help us on the business side on some other things, and as soon as he got the interim role, I pulled him back. He was making season ticket holder calls with me. We had him at our high school rivalry series game. He was willing to jump in and do anything that we needed, and we need that partnership. We need it for our players so they know what's going on and what's expected of them and how they can help us. We need to reciprocate that with the hockey side. So the partnership is really critical, and it was one of the things that was important to us as we were going through this process.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. We will take an opportunity for a quick photo opportunity at the front of the stage.